One of the things I love about this channel is you guys ask me questions, and one of them was my thoughts on Craig Counsell and Jed Hoyer defending Craig Counsell in a press conference last week. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to give you my honest opinion, and we'll talk about that here on the Cubs Baseball channel today. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Thanks for hanging out. Get your opinion in there. What do you think about Craig Counsell? Has he been a success? Is he a failure? Is he the reason the Cubs didn't make the playoffs? What do you like about his managing? What don't you like? Well, let's talk about it right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Let's get this show started. Peace, everybody. Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball channel. Thank you for hanging out with us, or as the late, great Rex Barney would say, he was the public address announcer at Memorial Stadium in Baltimore. Thank you. Old Brooklyn Dodger. Brooklyn Dodger fireballer that became a PA guy. Love those PA guys, though. Baseball fan through and through, right? All right, let's talk about the Cubs instead of PA announcers. And let's talk about the Cubs front office right now. It was last week that Jed Hoyer talked to the media about manager Craig Counsell. He was asked, about the Cubs skipper who is in the midst, really the second year of a $40 million contract. He's the highest paid manager, not only in Cubs history, but also in Major League Baseball history. And Hoyer was asked about his manager, and he said, basically gave him a big stamp of approval, said he's very steady. He said, talked about his demeanor, something that Russ Nixon. I spent time with Russ Nixon. You guys may remember him, managed the Braves and the Reds. He was, when I was just breaking into baseball, I had to interview him. I didn't have to, but I did. I interviewed him every day as the manager of the team that I was working for. And he used to talk about this all the time. He said, you never get too high and you never get too low. You just want to kind of be consistent with your leadership. And so that was something that was mentioned by Hoyer when he was talking about Craig Counsell. And I think that is something that's important in baseball. Just because you play so many games, you don't want to come in, too fired up and you don't want to be too low when you lose. I think that's a good trait. But he was talking about, how much he appreciated the leadership, the consistency, and what Counsell brings to the table. And, and obviously the team moving forward. Now, the thing to me about this was a couple things. Okay. First off, there's no way they're not going to fire the Craig Counsell. I mean, like even the thought of asking, hey, are you still happy with your manager? Like, you can't, even if you thought he was terrible, which he hasn't been, you can't say that because you're tied to him because you went out and gave him that huge contract. That's the first thing. And the results aren't any better than last year. Kind of the same, really, when you want to think about it. Some bad luck in there. But to me, the God's honest truth here is that they ought to ask Craig Counsell what he thinks about Jed Hoyer, because he's got a lot more stability with his position than Hoyer. At the end of the day, there could be a new front office. They could make changes to the front office. When you don't make the playoffs as a major league team, then ownership is always going to look and say, what are we doing right and what are we doing wrong? And maybe the Cubs need to do that. Now, I like Jed Hoyer as a person. I like a lot of the stuff that he's done. There's other stuff that you look at and, you're wondering, maybe why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? I felt like Dansby Swanson pressured pretty hard for him to sign Cody Bellinger along with us. We wanted him too, but when, the leader of your team's speaking publicly at, the Cubs convention about it, it does make it a little more difficult to decide not to sign him. But you didn't make the playoffs. I think you got too many guys signed long-term. You got a bunch of roadblocks for your talent, which should be the strength of your organization, because you traded away all the guys that won the World Series to get these young players. Well, now they're not young players anymore. They're ready to be rookie players, and you don't have many spots for those guys, at least right now. So you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do. You're either going to trade those guys to other teams to get pitching, need pitching. We don't know what's going to happen with Cody Bellinger, but that is definitely a player-friendly contract next year, although I think that it's much better than the deals that could have been made. And I give Hoyer a pat on the back as far as some of the deals he made. I mean, you can't argue with the Shota Imanaga deal, right? But it doesn't matter. If you don't win on the field and you're a big market team like the Cubs, you're on the hot seat. And don't think that the Ricketts and Crane Kenny and whoever else might be involved in the leadership of the Cubs aren't talking or thinking about what direction this team's going in the future. And the most important thing for Hoyer is to show leadership and direction. So going back to Counsell, they should have asked Counsell, hey, what do you think? You think this is the guy that can get you the players and lay out the organization in a way for you guys to win? One of the things that Craig Counsell does really well is understand and know the organization, understand and know scouting, and understand and know the different levels of players and what he has in the organization. And also we saw it this year with Pete Crow Armstrong, for example. He's also been really good at helping young players become major league players and successful major league players. So I think that Craig Counsell is still a great manager. I think that the Cubs have got to do a better job building a bullpen next year, and that they could use, instead of having, a lot of kind of middle of the road starters, it would be great to have an ace. Yeah, an ace, like a legitimate ace. Maybe that's Corbin Burns, right? And you heard rumors about that. But somebody that they know they can count on at the top of the rotation, slot everyone back. Is Imanaga going to have a season as successful as this one next year? The league will have known him. They'll see what he can bring to the table. Justin Steele, I can't imagine him having a worse season with the injuries. And, of course, he's back on the IL. So that's where we are right now with the Cubs. So anyway, you guys tell me. Get in the comment section, like and subscribe. Tell me what you think about the future of the Cubs, what they should do, how they should build this roster, and we'll talk about it. Thanks for hanging out with us, and go Cubs.